Do you want to know the crazy goal I wrote down in 2021? Good, I thought you might say that. I'm going to tell you. But first, I want to let you know that the idea I'm here to share with you today is about the power of writing down the transformation we want to see. Can you imagine a single moment that changes the trajectory of your life forever? A moment where you get to decide that this is where it begins. For me, the stage lights were blinding, but that didn't faze me. My heart was racing, not out of fear, but exhilaration. I stood there, hands clasped tightly with the woman in front of me, our eyes locked. The MC's voice echoed through the room. And your new Mrs. Florida is? Me? I was stunned. But my potential didn't stop there. Months later, I found myself in a different system, under even brighter lights, surrounded by women from all over the USA. This time, I wasn't just representing myself, I was representing all of Florida. As I looked out into the crowd that night, it dawned on me. The audience couldn't see my struggle. They only saw the ending of my story. They didn't see the fear, the lack of pageant experience, and they definitely could not imagine me from 3.5 years earlier. Yeah, that was me, almost 300 pounds, over 160 pounds ago, and it's okay, there is no right reaction to that photo. What the audience saw that night was determination, strength, and resilience. But what I saw was a future filled with possibilities, shaped by all the struggles I had overcome. When they announced me as Mrs. USA, I couldn't believe it. The weight of the crown on my head wasn't heavy, it was so empowering. It reminded me of everything I had been through to get to this moment. And it all started because I dared to believe in myself and write it down. In 2021, at almost 300 pounds, I wrote down the wild idea that with zero experience, I wanted to compete in a beauty pageant. And while triumphs like these are worth celebrating, they're often born from struggles we'd rather forget. Moments that test us, break us, and force us to confront our limits. That confrontation for me started at the most unlikely place. I never expected a trip to the trampoline park to become my literal rock bottom. I was already coming off of one of the worst weeks of my life after an ordinary annual routine doctor's visit turned out to be the beginning of a wake-up call. At the end of the visit, the doctor pulled me aside and she said, "You're morbidly obese, pre-diabetic, and on a dangerous path to an early grave. If you don't turn your life around, you probably won't see your young children graduate high school." Those were the doctor's exact words, the kind that hit you like a ton of bricks. It was 2021. I was nearly 300 pounds and drowning in depression and deep shame. And in an effort to get over all the negativity running through my head, we planned what was supposed to be a fun-filled family outing to the local trampoline park. Yes, the trampoline park, where you have probably been dozens of times for kids' birthday parties and everyone's running around and laughing and jumping 10 feet in the air and eating cake and ice cream and having just a great time. But for me, it became a nightmare. Instead, I found myself stuck. Literally, after doing a cannonball into the center of a 15-foot foam pit that I could not climb out of. My heart raced as I struggled to free myself. my body pulling me deeper and deeper, and the harder I flailed, the farther I sank. I experienced my first and only panic attack as I realized I could not extract myself from the foam pit on my own. My husband saw my panic-stricken face, and he dove in to rescue me. I had completely disappeared beneath the foam, and he worked to remove all the padded cubes that were closing in on me, and I couldn't even see the light of day. Soon, 2 other men had to link arms and form a human chain to try and pull me out. Their hands gripping my arms, I avoided eye contact, too humiliated to look up. It felt like the record had scratched and the entire trampoline park had assembled for a front row seat to my humiliation. The men struggled so hard, they almost gave up. I actually thought the fire department was going to have to be called. All right, I hate even having that behind me. PTSD still to this day. But it wasn't just my body stuck that day. It was my confidence, my self-worth, and my sense of who I was. On the way home, I sat silently in the car, tears stinging my eyes, and I thought, how did I let my health get this out of hand? The day in the foam pit wasn't just the lowest point of my life. It was also a moment that ignited a fire in me and the beginning of a journey that I never imagined I would take. I committed to reclaiming my health and confidence, and I embarked on a journey to lose over 160 pounds. It wasn't just about shedding the weight. It was about shedding my self-doubt and fear that held me back for far too long. With every pound I lost, I gained something far greater: strength, resilience, and my belief that I could accomplish the impossible. My journey taught me that transformation isn't physical. It's mental, emotional, and deeply personal. Fast forward 3.5 years from what I like to call the foam pit fiasco, I was boarding the plane home from Mrs. USA, crown in hand, victory still sinking in, a wave of memories crashing over me. Just a few years ago, I avoided air travel altogether, not out of fear, but out of humiliation, trying to find the head flight attendant and say, excuse me, I need a seatbelt extender, it won't fit. And sometimes them yelling down the cabin, Carl, she needs a seatbelt extender. The way I would shrink into myself as if I could disappear. Seeing the people in my row try to hide their disappointment when they realized they'd have to sit next to me. But now the flight attendant's voice echoed through the cabin, ladies and gentlemen, your new Mrs. USA is on board. And the entire plane erupted into cheers. But I couldn't stop thinking about her, the version of me who once believed this moment was impossible, the woman who never thought she'd make it this far. And yet here I am, taking up space in the best way possible. My journey from humiliation to triumph and from morbid obesity to the pinnacle of pageantry taught me something simple but powerful. Our limits are not permanent. They are just stories that we tell ourselves, and stories can be rewritten. When we silence our doubts and take that first bold step of putting our dreams into words, we set something so powerful in motion. That single action transforms possibility into reality. The journey to becoming your best self begins the minute you decide to put it into words. What you write down doesn't have to be monumental. Maybe it's something you've told yourself you're not good at, something you're afraid to try, or a fear you've let hold you back. Write it down. Seeing it on paper transforms it from a vague thought into something real and something you can achieve. A study by Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor at Dominican University, found that individuals who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them compared to those who don't. Next, beneath that goal, write one small, tangible action that you will take this week to challenge it. Whether it's signing up for a class, having a tough conversation, or just stepping out of your comfort zone. This first step will set the momentum for your transformation. Research indicates that setting specific, meaningful, and challenging goals leads to better performance in 90% of cases. And I know you're looking at me and you're going, yeah, that's so great, that worked for you. That doesn't work for me. And I used to say that exact same thing to myself. And then I learned we have to accompany our written goal with the practice of maintenance, to write it down and protect it. And do you know why we need to protect it? Because we all have an ant problem. And no, I'm not talking about the kind that invade a picnic. I'm talking about automatic negative thoughts. Those little invaders that creep into our mind telling us we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, and just like real ants, if we don't deal with them, they multiply. And that's why we need an exterminator. For me, that exterminator is stomping them out, literally. Every time an ant scurries into my mind, you'll never succeed, you don't belong here, I physically stomp my foot and replace it with something positive. You are capable, you are strong, you have already overcome so much. It's a simple action, but it stops the spiral before it starts. Even the great U.S. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps had a system. He trained his mind just as much as he trained his body. He once said that every time he walked through a doorway, he told himself something positive, because that way when the outside world, the media, the critics, the self-doubt tried to tear him down, he had already built an unshakable foundation of belief. He had stomped out the ants before they could take hold. 3.5 years ago, there was a moment in my life when I had to make a choice that would determine not just my future, but the person I would become. Because life, no matter who you are, is hard. Obesity is hard. Being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Starting a business is hard. And working a 9-to-5 job is hard. Choose your hard. At my lowest point, I realized something. Life was never going to be easy, but what I did get to decide is which challenges I take on. I could stay where I was, or I could step forward. Do you want to know what I wrote down on January 1st of this year? Yeah. Good. That I wanted to give a TED Talk. Do you know how many people told me, don't even try, it's impossible, the application process is daunting, you'll never get selected? Practically everyone. Now, the next time you think your dreams are too big, write them down. Because the moment you put your dreams into words, you give them life. And that single act can change everything. Thank you. I am Amber Uhler, and it is an absolute honor to be your Mrs. USA. Thank you, Canada, for allowing me to be a part of this moment. Thank you. guys want to know what I wrote down 5 minutes ago? You will nail your TED Talk and get a standing ovation. Aw. Write it down, guys.